On today's Breaking Views, once again, it's banks. Fiddling bank capital ratios isn't the preserve of banks. Regulators are at it too. And potentially explosive developments at Barclays. With me to discuss these stories is Breaking Views columnist George Hay. George, your piece today on bank capital rules say regulators are fiddling the capital ratios too. Now, that's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Well, it's actually not, because this is a report by the Basel Committee, who are the global watchdog, and they have a good claim to know what they're talking about.
You
would hope. But what's already out there is that banks use kind of suspect calculations in their own risk models in order to kind of potentially understate their capital ratios. But what's new in this report is that they're actually not only doing it with the kind of okay of the regulators, but the regulators actually kind of put sums into the models, put different sums into the models depending on which regulator they are. And that's completely new. So.
But it's not the same as fiddling, is it? It's just, I suppose, it's different methods, different models for different jurisdictions.
Well, it is if the underlying assets in question are different, are riskier than other assets. That is fair enough. But if the yardstick by which you're measuring these things is actually being kind of entirely made up by both the regulators and the banks, then that's more cause for concern.
Indeed, and of course, in this globalised banking world, banks have operations in different jurisdictions. It must be quite difficult for them to figure out what rules to follow.
Absolutely, but the thing is that the European Banking Union is coming in 2014, and the ECB is going to be regulating all the big banks in Europe, and therefore, from their perspective, they should be kind of cracking down on this kind of thing. And that's a good thing, because hopefully you'll see less of this kind of regulatory arbitrage.
But that's a nice idea. We've been talking about this for some time. It's not going to really happen in any great force and great sense anytime soon, is it?
Well, the problem is, European Banking Union, ECB, sorting that out will be good for Europe, but it doesn't necessarily give any unanimity between Europe and the US and elsewhere in the world. So yeah. In a way, it's not going to happen tomorrow. Indeed.
Now, you're writing a piece on Barclays today. It's not out yet, but it's about the deal it made with Qatar back in 2008 when Qatar injected capital into Barclays. There's a front-page splash in the FT today. Now, this is potentially pretty big, isn't it?
Well, it is. Basically, the accusation is that the Barclays not only got an investment from Qatar in 2008, but they actually gave a loan to the Qataris to enable the investment to be made. Now, if that is true, it's not just entirely whether it's legally okay or not okay, but it's just in 2008, Barclays, made this big statement about this is a vote of confidence from this outside investor who could invest in anyone, and if it is proved that Barclays actually just enabled them to do it, then it really does take the shine off how good a deal that was.
But is that all it does? Does it just take the shine off Barclays, or is there something more fundamental here, more nefarious?
Well, we can't say that for certain at the moment, but it's specifically that kind of question is what the Serious Fraud Office and the Financial Services Authority are currently looking into, and it's quite possible that they might find something untoward in there, but we can't say that at the moment. But clearly, if you're Anthony Jenkins trying to kind of rehabilitate the reputation of Barclays, this is not what you want.
And he's been on a charm offensive. We spoke to him in Davos last week. He's got everybody on side so far, it seems.
Well, yeah. I mean, the proof of the pudding will come on the February the 12th when he's coming out with how he's actually going to reshape Barclays. But what he said up to this point is, we've got to make a big step change in our values and our kind of culture. And clearly, if it comes out that the 2008 capital raising was something different to what people thought it was, then it doesn't completely destabilise that attempt to improve the culture, but it doesn't help.
But he'll have tough questions to answer.
Absolutely.
George, thank you very much. That was Reuters Breaking Views, George Hay. And for more agenda-setting financial insight, watch our US Breaking Views show every day at 12:30 Eastern, 17:30 GMT. I'm Jamie McGeever. This is Reuters.